There's a belief we all carry quietly, privately, that if we could just get one day right, everything else in life would begin to fall into place. One perfect day, one day where we feel focused, grounded, energized, unstoppable, but the truth is, conquering a day doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design, and it's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about waking up with a mindset that says, today matters. Because if today matters, then every day matters. And if every day matters, we become someone who matters. So here are 5 rules, simple, human, powerful. Not rules to control you, but rules to guide you. Rules that help you conquer the day not by force, but by purpose. Most people wake up and immediately get swept into the world's agenda. Notifications, emails, responsibilities, alarms, noise. And what's fascinating is how quickly we let all of it decide our mood, our direction, and our sense of meaning for the day. But when you look at the people who consistently operate at a high level, leaders, creators, individuals who inspire us, they don't begin their day reacting. They begin with intention. They start with a sense of purpose. They start with their why. Starting with why is not a motivational slogan. It's a daily discipline. It's the quiet act of grounding yourself before life has a chance to pull you off course. Because if you don't anchor your day in your purpose, something else will do it for you. Someone else's urgency, someone else's expectations, someone else's priorities. The world will always try to grab your attention. It's your job to decide what it means. Imagine waking up and the first thing you ask isn't, what do I need to do? But why does today matter? That question shifts everything. It moves you from survival mode to intention mode. It stops you from being a passenger in your own day and puts you back in the driver's seat. When you start with why, you create an emotional foundation for your actions. Purpose becomes the fuel. And purpose is stronger than discipline, stronger than habit, stronger than willpower. Purpose makes the hard things meaningful. It gives you a reason to endure discomfort, a reason to push through resistance, a reason to show up even when you don't feel like it. Think of how different your morning feels when you wake up for something that matters to you versus when you're simply waking up because you have to. When you wake up for a cause, for a mission, for people you care about, energy rises, but when you wake up to chase a list of tasks, your spirit sinks. Human beings aren't designed to chase tasks. We're designed to chase purpose. Starting with why also gives you clarity. It helps you sort what is essential from what is noise. When your day has a purpose, decisions become easier. You know what aligns and what doesn't. You know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You stop scattering yourself across dozens of directions, and you begin focusing on the few things that actually matter. And here's the interesting part. Your why doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. Many people get stuck thinking purpose means saving the world or creating something monumental. But purpose can be as simple as showing up with kindness, becoming a better version of yourself, providing for your family, creating something meaningful, inspiring one person. The size of your why doesn't matter. What matters is that it's real to you. When you wake up each morning and take even 60 seconds to reconnect with your why, you remind your brain what it should prioritize. You realign your emotions with your direction. You give your day a frame, a shape, a reason. And humans thrive when we know the reason. It's the same principle we see in great leaders. They don't inspire people by giving them a list of tasks. They inspire by giving them meaning, by reminding them of what they're part of. A team with purpose performs better. A family with purpose grows stronger. A life with purpose becomes grounded. So what would it look like to begin your day with why? Maybe it's journaling one sentence about what matters. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 2 minutes and reminding yourself of who you want to be. Maybe it's focusing on the people you serve, the goals you're working toward, or the impact you want to create. It can be simple. It should be simple, because the power is not in the complexity. It's in the consistency. Starting with why is an act of self-leadership. It's your way of saying, I don't exist just to respond to the world. I exist to contribute to it. And when you adopt that mindset, you don't just conquer your day, you elevate it. You infuse it with meaning. You make it count. Every day becomes an opportunity, not to do more, but to live with intention, to move with clarity, to act with purpose, and that, above all else, is how you conquer a day not simply with productivity, but with purpose, pride, and fulfillment. There is a small window at the start of every day, often unnoticed, often wasted, where your courage is naturally at its peak. It's that moment before the noise begins, before the pressures build, before the doubts have a chance to negotiate with you. And what you choose to do with that window determines the tone of your entire day. Most people don't even realize they have this advantage. They wake up, reach for their phone, and immediately hand their courage over to the world. But those who consistently make progress, those who live with intention, they use this window differently. They use their morning courage for the hard thing. It's not that successful or fulfilled people enjoy difficult tasks more than anyone else. It's that they understand a simple truth. Resistance grows as the day goes on. By afternoon, your mind is already cluttered. Your energy is divided. Your emotions are more reactive. You've answered emails, dealt with interruptions, and accumulated tiny stresses. By evening, the courage you woke up with has been spent on everything except the thing that mattered most. And so the hardest tasks get pushed to tomorrow, and then the next tomorrow, and then the next. This is how dreams stagnate. Not because we're incapable, but because we leave our best energy for the wrong things. Doing the hardest thing first is an act of self-honesty. It forces you to confront what you've been avoiding. It forces you to acknowledge what truly matters. The difficult task is usually the one tied to growth, to progress, to meaning, and that's why it feels uncomfortable. Growth always does, but discomfort early in the day becomes momentum later in the day. When you start with the hard thing, everything else feels lighter. Think about how you feel when you avoid something difficult. There's a quiet anxiety that follows you. Even if you distract yourself with smaller tasks, it lingers in the back of your mind. It steals energy. It steals presence. It steals the satisfaction you could have earned by facing it. But when you tackle the hard thing in the morning, the opposite happens. You feel relieved, you feel proud, you feel confident. Your mind opens up. The rest of the day expands instead of tightens. Courage, like a muscle, grows with use. When you consistently choose courage in the morning, something remarkable happens. You begin seeing yourself differently. Your self-trust strengthens. You start believing that you follow through, that you're capable, that you're dependable. And human beings rise or fall to the level of how they see themselves. So when you act with courage early, you build a self-image that supports you, not undermines you. This isn't just about productivity. It's about integrity. Doing the difficult thing first means aligning your habits with your values. It means acting according to what matters instead of what's convenient. It means choosing purpose over avoidance. And over time, this pattern becomes part of your identity. You transform from someone who procrastinates to someone who takes initiative, from someone who hesitates to someone who leads. Leaders, real leaders, don't wait until the end of the day when they're drained to make big decisions. They use their freshest energy, their clearest mind, their strongest courage. They confront challenges before the challenges confront them. And it's not because they're fearless. It's because they understand fear doesn't disappear with delay. It disappears with action. There is also a psychological advantage to doing the hard thing early. The brain loves completion. When you finish something meaningful, it releases dopamine, a reward chemical. That burst of accomplishment creates motivation. It makes you want to keep going. Most people rely on motivation to begin, but motivation is unreliable at the start of the day. Courage is what gets you started. Motivation is what follows after you've acted. And when you understand that, you stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin. You create it. People often ask how to become more disciplined, more focused, more resilient. The answer is simple, though not easy. Build a habit of beginning your day with a thing that scares you or stretches you. That phone call, that project, that conversation, that decision, that piece of work you know will move your life forward, even if only by a small step. When you stop avoiding the hard thing and start embracing it, you begin living with a deep sense of control. Not control over the world, because that's impossible, but control over yourself. And that's where real strength comes from. You can't conquer a day you're hiding from, but you can conquer a day you confront with courage. Every morning gives you a gift, a brief moment when you are mentally strongest, emotionally clean, and spiritually available. Use that moment wisely, use it intentionally, use it courageously. Because once you start your day with a win born of bravery, the rest of the day becomes something you can navigate, not something you endure. That's how you conquer more than a task. That's how you conquer yourself. We don't talk about energy the way we talk about time, but maybe we should. Time is measurable, countable, predictable. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, yet some people seem to do so much more, live so much more, contribute so much more, and others barely make it through the day. The difference isn't the hours, it's the energy they bring into those hours. Energy is the great multiplier. It's the difference between showing up and showing up well. It's the difference between a conversation that inspires and one that drains. It's the difference between doing work and doing meaningful work, and yet most people treat their energy like it's disposable. They say yes to everything. They give unlimited access to anyone. They react to whatever comes their way. They move through the day leaking energy without even realizing it. But those who consistently operate at a high level understand something profound. Your energy is your most valuable asset. You guard it, you protect it, you spend it intentionally. Think of your energy like a battery. Every interaction, every decision, every distraction either charges it or drains it. And what most people don't notice is that many of the things they accept as normal are actually draining them slowly. The unnecessary arguments, the chaotic environments, the toxic relationships, the cluttered schedules, the tasks that don't align with their purpose. These drains are small, but they repeat daily, and over time, even the strongest battery runs empty. When you begin treating your energy as an asset, you start making different choices. You begin noticing what lifts you and what weighs you down. You learn to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility, because every yes is an agreement to spend a part of yourself. And if you spend too much on the wrong things, you have nothing left for the things that matter. And here's the surprising truth. Protecting your energy isn't about doing less, it's about doing what matters most with greater presence, greater intention, and greater impact. You can't show up as a leader, a friend, a parent, a creator, or a human being if you're exhausted on the inside. When your energy is low, small problems feel enormous. Tasks that should take minutes take hours. Conversations become misunderstandings. Creativity disappears, patience dissolves, everything feels harder, not because it is harder, but because you're running on empty. But when your energy is high, your world expands. You think clearer, you listen deeper, you act with confidence. You connect with people more authentically. You make decisions with courage instead of fear. You move through challenges with calm instead of chaos. The same 24 hours become more alive. Leaders in the truest sense understand this. They don't seek to be busy, they seek to be effective. They don't try to do everything, they try to do the right things well. They choose rest as part of their strategy, not a reward they have to earn. They surround themselves with people who lift them, challenge them, and energize them, not people who consume them. Leadership isn't about being available all the time. It's about being fully present when you are available, and presence requires energy. Protecting your energy also means creating boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They're the rules you set to ensure that what enters your life supports your growth, your purpose, and your well-being. Boundaries are an act of self-respect. They communicate to others that your time and energy have value, that you have a mission, that your life has direction. And one of the most empowering shifts occurs when you begin to identify people who drain you not because they are bad, but because your values, your intentions, or your emotional needs simply don't. Align. You don't need to cut everyone out, but you do need to choose who gets the closest access to your energy. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Equally important is noticing what recharges you. Rest is one source of energy, but not the only one. Inspiration charges you. Gratitude charges you. Creativity charges you. Laughter charges you. Contribution charges you. Being around people who make you feel safe and valued charges you. The things that reconnect you to your humanity are the things that refill your battery. When you begin living with this awareness, your days feel different. You stop surviving and start engaging. You stop reacting and start choosing. You stop being overwhelmed and start becoming intentional. And the beautiful thing is, once your energy is protected and aligned, every part of your life improves, not because life changed, but because you showed up with more strength, more clarity, and more heart. Protect your energy. It's the foundation of everything you want to build. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Perfect results, perfect timing, perfect execution. People convince themselves they can't begin until everything is lined up, everything is clear, everything feels certain. But that mindset, this chase for perfection, is precisely what keeps most people stuck. Perfection is not the pursuit of excellence. It's the avoidance of failure. It's a fear wearing the disguise of high standards. Human beings don't thrive because they are perfect. We thrive because we grow, and growth is built on one thing: progress. Small, steady, imperfect progress. The challenge is that progress often feels insignificant in the moment. It's one page written, one choice made, one workout completed, one brave conversation attempted. It's tiny, so tiny that most people dismiss it. We underestimate small steps because we expect big results. But every big achievement is nothing more than a series of small, unglamorous steps repeated over and over. Perfection demands instant transformation. Progress asks only for consistency. The problem with perfection is that it paralyzes us. It makes us afraid to start because we can't guarantee how it will turn out. It makes us afraid to continue because we're constantly aware of how far from ideal we are. We judge ourselves, compare ourselves, and convince ourselves we're not ready, and that internal pressure crushes creativity, curiosity, and courage, the three things we need most to grow. Progress, on the other hand, is forgiving. It gives room for mistakes. It welcomes learning. It allows you to try, fail, adjust, and try again. Progress doesn't shame you for being imperfect. It rewards you for showing up. When you focus on perfection, your identity becomes tied to the outcome. When you focus on progress, your identity becomes tied to your effort, and effort is something you control. Effort is where integrity lives. Think about how children learn. They stumble, they fall, they get messy. They get it wrong more times than they get it right, and not once does a child stop walking because they're embarrassed about falling. Not once do they decide they're not meant for walking, because they didn't get it perfect from the start. They keep going because progress feels natural to them. It's adults who unlearn that mindset. In leadership, in relationships, in personal development, progress is everything. A leader who demands perfection creates fear. People hide mistakes, creativity dies, risk-taking disappears. But a leader who celebrates progress builds trust. They build a culture where people feel safe enough to learn and bold enough to try. That applies to self-leadership too. When you celebrate progress, you become more compassionate with yourself. You recognize your growth, you build momentum. Every small win becomes a reason to keep going instead of a reminder of how far you still have left to go. One of the most powerful things you can do at the end of a day is to ask yourself, what progress did I make? Not was it perfect, but did I move the needle even slightly? This shift in mindset changes the way you feel about your efforts. It turns your focus from what you lacked to what you gained. And what we focus on expands, progress compounds. 1% better each day sounds trivial, almost meaningless. But it's not, because 1% better each day doesn't stay at 1%. It grows, it multiplies. It becomes habits, skills, confidence, and identity. You become someone who improves, not someone who stays stuck wishing for perfection. We often underestimate how powerful we become when we choose consistency over intensity. When we choose the tiny, repeated effort over the dramatic, unsustainable push. When we choose to move forward, even clumsily, instead of waiting for the perfect plan, some of the most impactful things in life started imperfectly. First drafts, first attempts, first conversations, first steps. They didn't look impressive at the beginning, but they mattered because they were the beginning. Progress honors your humanity. It allows you to be a work in progress, something we all are, no matter how polished people look from the outside. Perfection denies you that humanity. It demands the impossible and punishes anything less. So choose progress. Choose the small step, choose the imperfect start, choose the effort that seems insignificant but ultimately becomes transformative. The day you stop waiting to be perfect is the day you start becoming unstoppable, because greatness isn't built in leaps. It's built in inches. There's a moment at the end of every day, quiet, subtle, often overlooked when we have the chance to give meaning to everything that just happened. Most people rush through it. They collapse into bed, carry their stress with them, and wake up the next morning already behind. But the people who grow, the ones who evolve, the ones who carry a sense of calm confidence through life, they treat the end of the day as something sacred. They pause, they reflect, they practice gratitude, and in doing so, they close the day with integrity instead of chaos. Reflection is one of the most underrated forms of leadership, especially self-leadership. It forces you to be honest. It asks you to look at yourself not with judgment, but with curiosity. Did I live today the way I intended to? Did I show up with purpose, or did I let the day control me? Where did I grow? Where did I fall short? These are not questions meant to shame you. They are meant to orient you. They put a mirror in front of you, not to criticize, but to help you recognize who you are becoming. Human beings need closure. When we carry unresolved thoughts, unspoken frustrations, unfinished emotions into the night, they follow us. They sit in our sleep, they shape our mornings, but when we reflect, we release, we organize our thoughts. We understand our experiences, we make sense of what happened so it doesn't weigh us down. Reflection is how we learn from the day instead of simply moving through it. And then there is gratitude, something simple yet deeply powerful. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful. It's about noticing what was good, noticing what worked, noticing the moments we normally overlook because we are too busy or too stressed or too distracted to pay attention. Gratitude shifts the lens through which we view our day. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, it reminds us of what went right. It trains our brain to look for meaning, not mistakes. Even on difficult days, there is something to be grateful for. The lesson, the strength, the fact that you made it through. Gratitude doesn't deny challenges, it balances them. It gives you the emotional stability you need to keep going without burning out. It anchors you in what's real, not in what's missing. Think of your day like a story. Every story needs an ending, a moment that ties the events together. Reflection and gratitude are how you write that ending. They turn random events into a narrative. And when you feel like your life has a narrative, something meaningful, something connected, you feel a sense of direction. You know where you stand. People often underestimate the emotional impact of the way they end their day. If you end your day feeling overwhelmed, you start the next day in recovery mode. But if you end your day with clarity and gratitude, you start the next day with intention. The end of the day becomes the foundation for the next beginning. Leaders, creators, and fulfilled individuals all share this habit. They review their day. They look for insight. They look for alignment. They celebrate the progress they made, however small. This isn't about being positive all the time, it's about being aware. Awareness is the birthplace of growth. Imagine sitting quietly for a few minutes at night and asking yourself, what was one thing I did today that I'm proud of? What's one thing I would handle differently next time? What's one moment I appreciate? These simple questions have the power to reshape your emotional patterns, your mindset, and ultimately your life. Because the quality of your questions determines the quality of your reflections, and the quality of your reflections determines the quality of your growth. There's also a deeper psychological effect at play here. When you acknowledge your efforts and your wins, your brain releases a sense of accomplishment. It creates emotional closure. It allows your mind to rest, and rest is essential for clarity, creativity, and resilience. You cannot conquer tomorrow if your mind is still tangled in the chaos of today. Ending your day with gratitude and reflection is an act of respect for your time, for your growth, for your journey. It is how you honor the effort you put in. It is how you build self-trust. It is how you silently tell yourself, my day mattered. And when your days matter consistently, your life becomes meaningful consistently. The end of each day isn't just an ending. It's an opportunity to realign with who you want to be, to release what doesn't serve you, to recognize what does, to appreciate the small, quiet victories that will someday become the foundation of something extraordinary. Most people move through life hoping that somehow things will fall into place. They hope that with enough time, enough luck, enough motivation, something will shift. But the truth is, life doesn't change in big dramatic moments. Life changes in the small, repeated choices we make every single day. The design of your days becomes the design of your life, and whether you're aware of it or not, you are already being shaped by your habits, your patterns, your routines. The question is not whether your days are shaping you, it's how they're shaping you. When we talk about conquering the day, it's not about productivity or squeezing more tasks into your schedule. It's about choosing with intention the kind of person you want to become and letting your daily actions reflect that choice. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. That's why the small things matter so much. A single day seems insignificant, but days compound, choices compound, and over time they create outcomes that feel like destiny, but they were simply consistency in disguise. Designing your days means stopping long enough to ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What kind of life am I building through the way I live today? Because your future isn't built someday, it's built every day. What you practice daily becomes your identity. If you practice avoidance, you become someone who hides. If you practice discipline, you become someone who leads. If you practice compassion, you become someone who connects. If you practice purpose, you become someone who inspires. Human beings often underestimate the power of their daily habits because the results aren't immediate. You eat healthy for one day and nothing changes. You work on a dream for 1 hour and see no reward. You read one chapter and don't feel smarter, and so people give up not because it doesn't work, but because it works slowly. Slowly is how real transformation happens. Slowly is how character forms. Slowly is how lives change permanently. Leaders, true leaders, understand this. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on intention. They rely on design. They know that if they want to become a certain kind of person, they must consistently behave like that person, especially on the days they don't feel like it. Leadership isn't an act of desire, it's an act of discipline, and discipline is built in the everyday moments when no one is watching. There's something powerful that happens when you start designing your days instead of reacting to them. You feel grounded. You feel in control not of external circumstances, but of yourself. You begin living life proactively rather than defensively. You stop waiting for the world to change and start becoming the kind of person who can change their world. Designing your days doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life. It begins with small, intentional steps. Waking up with purpose, doing the hard thing early, protecting your energy, celebrating progress, closing the day with reflection. These aren't just habits, these are anchors. They stabilize you, they direct you, they give your days structure and meaning. And when your days have meaning, your life gains momentum. Think of your life like a building. Every day is a brick. You decide whether the brick is placed with care or tossed without thought. One brick doesn't seem like much. But brick by brick, with intention, something strong and lasting begins to form. Something you can be proud of. Something that reflects the best version of you. The most inspiring people aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who designed their days with purpose even when life felt chaotic. They kept moving. They kept showing up. They kept choosing actions that aligned with the future they wanted, not the circumstances they were in. And the beautiful truth is this: you can start designing your days at any moment. You don't need a new year, a new job, or a new environment. You need a decision to live intentionally rather than accidentally, a decision to let your daily actions reflect your deepest values, a decision to stop waiting for the right time and begin shaping the life you want through the choices you make today. Design your days with intention, and you design a life of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. You become someone who doesn't just get through days, you make them count. And when your days count, your life becomes a powerful story worth living, worth sharing, and worth remembering. Imagine what your life would look like if you lived these 5 rules for a month. Then 6 months, then a year, not perfectly, not flawlessly, just consistently. You'd wake up a different person, calmer, more confident, more intentional. Someone who no longer survives their days but conquers them. Remember, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We rise to the level of our habits, and these 5 rules, they aren't just habits. They're a blueprint for a life with meaning. A life lived on purpose. A life lived fully awake. A life you were meant to live.